What do you think, Governor, explains the strong growth, the strong productivity, and the low inflation that we're seeing?
Well, I think it's our faith in the American people and the American employers. You give them more of their money back. We saw a massive tax cut here in Wisconsin. A typical taxpayer, that's two parents working and two kids at home still in school. That family saves over $2,500. And even though they may not believe it in the polls, the reality is over about 80% of Americans saw a tax cut. And I think you put more money back in their hands, you put more money back in the hands of small business owners, they're going to put people to work. And this jobs report, following on last week's good news about GDP growth, shows that we have an economy that's on fire and will only continue to grow the rest of this year. Do
you have a sense for whether interest rates seem too high for this economy? Are they too low? Are they just about right?
Well, I know the Vice President and others have talked about them being lower. I think right now this economy can operate quite well as it is. Certainly lower interest rates always help along the way, but I see it as a strong and vibrant economy. We've seen here in Wisconsin, as we see across the country, strong positive news when it comes to manufacturing. We see higher wages in fields like construction and others. Those are good indicators, I believe, that the economy is not only hot, but that it will continue to grow going forward.
Governor, what's happening with Foxconn? I understand that you, the current governor, and Foxconn met just yesterday. What's the latest here?
That's right. Terry Go, the longtime chairman of Foxconn, came to Wisconsin yesterday. He met with the current governor, Tony Evers, and I think it was a good discussion. Governor Evers kind of walked back some concerns he had, and I think believes they're on the right track. I've said all along, I believe that Foxconn will meet or exceed their original goal of 13,000 good-paying family-supporting jobs, $10 billion worth of capital investment. That's not only the largest economic development project in state history, it's one of the biggest globally. And that's a tribute to President Trump being at the forefront literally about 2 weeks ago this week, or 2 years ago, I should say, this week, making the case to Terry that Foxconn, instead of making things in Asia, should make some more things in America. And then we took the ball and ran and said one of the best places to do it was right here in the state of Wisconsin.
Maybe the narrative is incorrect, but the narrative that has unfolded, Governor, over recent months has been that Foxconn is kind of stepping back from the initial intentions in terms of either the number of jobs it will create or the types of jobs it will create or the incomes that will go along with that. Is that in any way accurate, number one? Number two, why has that narrative flipped the way it has?
Well, I think, unfortunately, for the past year and a half, you saw detractors politically in this state, to me and now to the president, hoping, it's an odd thing, to hope that something fails in order to make a political point. But I think that's all along been part of the process you've seen in Wisconsin. So a lot of misinformation. But the Foxconn team has consistently said that they're committed to the state of Wisconsin. They're committed to Made in the USA, and they're committed to those 13,000 jobs. Will they tweak things along the way? Absolutely. They're a company that, Terry Go started out in the 70s making the old knobs that you had on television sets. He evolved into the Atari joystick. Later on, moved on to Compact and Commodore, and eventually, obviously, made his biggest gains partnering with Apple. And now he's making state-of-the-art 8K technology, sharp screens that will be made in America. Those are the things he's focused on.
One more thing on this, though. It was a Foxconn executive who told Reuters a couple of months ago that maybe it wouldn't be manufacturing jobs. They might be some kind of white-collar jobs in this factory whose hiring plans have been way short of what was initially forecasted. Are those going to be manufacturing jobs?
Long-term, absolutely. And the fact that they might add more high-paying engineering jobs along the way, I actually think is a big bonus for a state like Wisconsin. But there'll definitely be tens of thousands of jobs. Major portions of those will be in manufacturing, and they'll all be within the contract that the state has between the state of Wisconsin and Foxconn itself.
Governor, before you go, another big sort of source of conflict has been the administration's reported plans to nationalize 5G. Now, they've denied this since and said, the private sector should lead the way here. But given the importance of this technology and some of the concerns about participating vendors, including Huawei already, what do you think is the right way to go about it?
Well, there's a real concern when, as you mentioned, when you've got companies with a Chinese connection in terms of security. But the answer is not to be more like China, to defeat China, to be ahead of the game when it comes to 5G. It's to do what we do in America, and that's compete. Open up the market, continue to compete. We're already well ahead of China, South Korea, and others out there. And I think now more than ever, it's a real-time example in Venezuela where not only do we see that socialism doesn't work, the argument there was to nationalize their telecommunications system. And now you see Maduro, the dictator there, shutting down access to things like YouTube and the internet and Google searches and even access to cell phones, that is a real danger when one entity is the nationalized source. We shouldn't have that in America. We should have competition. And that's what got us 4G and will get us 5G going forward.